Hi, I'm Sherry Curley, certified neurodiversity coach, also known as the practical sort. And this month I decided to put together an audio visual version of my blog, Competing with Competing Thoughts. And the reason I chose to do this is I believe that this topic is super important, but it's also a personal challenge for me. And I'll get into this in a little bit. But if you choose to listen to this or to read on, I would invite you to keep a few things in mind. As you read through this blog or listen to it, I want you to know that I'm feeling vulnerable to publicly share these particular Achilles heels. I chose to lay them out with the hopes of normalizing brain-based challenge experiences. Situations, levels of intensity, frequency, and causes may differ, but struggle is still struggle, and you're not alone if you're struggling with them too. The second thing is, should you find that these situations are surprising or questionable as they relate to a professional organizer or coach, executive function impairments can happen to anyone. And our cognitive functionality changes over time. I'm fairly confident if I wasn't highly organized and process oriented, navigating through the types of moments that this blog illustrates would be even more distressingly perplexing, at least for me. The third thing is the tips that I share are part of my own blueprint. Create your own plans to fit your unique needs. An editable tool, such as a pencil, an e-device, an open mind, when stylizing your blueprint, will facilitate constructing, deconstructing, and rebuilding your frameworks, along with redefining and refining the minutia until you find approaches that work for you. Modify your blueprint to carry over from one type of action to another for greater efficiency and productivity. Be flexible and be creative. And here we go into competing with competing thoughts. And the first section I've entitled is Everything All at Once, All of the Time. I need to do this, that, and the other thing nearly all at the same time, pretty much all of the time. Trademark ADHD, probably. A heavy dose is likely attributable to my hyperactive neurons crisscrossing neural pathways and interweave all of that with my hypervigilant propensities, recovering perfectionist tendencies, need for perpetual organization and task completion, and desire for visual reminders without getting overwhelmed. I can assure you that snafus lie in wait. Snafus like the two case studies I'm about to describe to you. Case number one, everything all at once. Here I am, eking out this blog, diligently coaxing my brain to coalesce around a topic and articulate relevant points. Eventually, I'm sort of in a flow until the dishwasher beeps. Fortuitously, I recognize it's a completion signal rather than an error alarm. Normally, I stop the machine before the dry cycle. I inadvertently let it go too long this morning. Too many distractions. Beep, beep, beep. A few seconds later, through my closed office door, I hear the repeated beeps paging me. It needs to be addressed now. I'm hesitant to stop the blogging's cerebral flow, lose track of what I'm doing and where in the process I am leaving off. Realistically, I will not be able to concentrate if the beeping continues or anticipating the next set of beeps. The impetus to do that other thing intensifies. I save the document. I scampered off to the kitchen to the lure of that other thing. I'll just quickly knock it out. And I start to unload the machine, and then things unravel. You see, above the dishwasher sits the nearly full, smelly compost bin. Tomorrow's trash day. I better empty the compost. But should I finish emptying the dishwasher first or take the bin to the garage? And my brain tries to sort through the distraction as I put away the flatware. Inner wisdom directs me to place the compost bin on the other side of the dishwasher, not on the tripping side where I'm moving, so I won't forget about it. Now finish unloading the dishwasher. So cool, I have a plan. Dishwasher is emptied, water drops are wiped off the floor, and I see the compost bin. So I grab that along with the recycling bin and the kitchen trash can to prep for trash day. I deposit the compost bin and the recycling bin by the staircase en route to the garage. To prevent forgetting about them or making additional trips up and down the stairs, I go room to room emptying any trash into the large kitchen trash can, and then I work my way back to the staircase. With all the bins now in hand, I head to the garage. As I dump the compost bin into the garage's yard waste giant receptacle, I see branches and pine needles. Yikes. I have not called the arborist about the dying, tilting cryptomeria tree in our backyard. I need to remember to ask Jonathan also to check on the spotted apples and spotted leaves on our apple tree. Fingers crossed, it's not diseased or infested. And it's already 95 degrees out, and I haven't watered the potted plants or the apple tree. I hustle outside to do that. Showering the plants reminds me that I've been intending to schedule a teeth cleaning and a dental checkup appointment. Unfortunately, I didn't have my phone with me, so I couldn't call right then and there or add it to my e-checklist. So I make a mental note that there are 2 things I need to address when I go back inside. Call the arborist and the dentist. No, wait a minute. There's actually 3 things. The thing that I was doing before I got sidetracked by the beeping dishwasher. And what was that thing? No idea. It'll come to me. Usually I leave clues for myself to help remember the action and where in the process I hit the pause button. I can chalk this up to too many things in my mind happening at once. And I find it discouraging to forget what I was doing, but it's even more discouraging for me when I can't figure out how to do the things I know how to do because my brain is in this dizzying spiral, like you're about to hear in case number 2. Muscle memory typically saves me, but not always, and it's really frustrating. So here's case number 2, which I entitled Too Many Things at Once. Too much input, saturating my already melting down brain. Too many items within my purview screaming, do me first. No, over here, it makes more sense to do this instead. Wrong, this is next. Scenes like this happen when my brain is least able to handle competing thoughts, like it did last Friday, linen laundry day. I had barely slept. My allergies were intense and my brain was muddled. Surprisingly, I remembered that Friday was actually Friday, and it was the morning to strip the bed and remake it. Removing the linens, absolutely no problem. Remaking the bed, a weekly ritual for most of my life, sent me and my mind into a tailspin. When the cerebral gears get stuck, remembering how to execute routine tasks can be challenging. There are only a few steps to remaking the bed with new linens, but that morning, it felt like there were far too many choices. The procedure's well organized, yet my brain was stymied. I found myself literally walking in circles, trying to calculate what needed to be done and how. Did I already take out the clean linens out of the drawer? I usually set them on the corner of the night table. They weren't there. They weren't in the drawer. Where did I put them? They toppled onto the pillow pile. Next, do the pillowcases go on first or the fitted sheet? I wasn't equipped to make any decisions or take any action. And are you wondering, does the order really matter? Kind of, but not really. Turns out I did do it out of the actual usual sequence. The pillowcases went on before the sheets. The reason the sheets and the comforter precede the pillowcase is so that the newly covered pillows have a clean place to land. Until the bed was made, the pillows sat on the floor. An uncomfortable situation for my brain that craves process, order, and hygiene. Now, in the scheme of things, it's substantial, as our pillows occasionally flop to the floor as we toss and turn. My limbic system was not convinced. Finally, the last step was arranging the assortment of decorative pillows. Now, of course, my brain has an aesthetic order to the placement. But Friday, my brain couldn't handle the resulting pile that I tossed from the floor onto the bed. I stared, I contemplated, I reconciled the situation by just telling myself, grab one. Doesn't matter which, you can put the next one in front of it, behind it, or next to it. That's how befuddled my thoughts were. Pillow arrangement was taxing. By the time I finished, I felt like I had put in a full day's work. My brain alternates between needing a jump start and operating at warp speed, far too fast to figure out what to do and how to do it. Cases like 1 and 2 were part of an uptick in cognitive dissonance. I was wondering, could there be a correlation between menopause, allergies, my last bout of suspected COVID, that's a whole long story, and more frequent intense mental confusion spells? I'll let the doctor sort that out. I've read studies, I've heard anecdotes to support my presumptions. The menopause charity, states when the levels of hormones, namely estrogen and testosterone, begin to fall during perimenopause and menopause. This can lead to a range of cognitive symptoms, including memory loss, difficulty staying focused, word-finding difficulties, something I frequently experience, losing your train of thought, and getting confused easily. The Mayo Clinic agrees. The hormone changes can cause, and they list a whole slew of symptoms, including trouble finding words and remembering, often called brain fog. Alas, even though I feel that my brain is often going off the rails, my suspicions appear to be on track. So don't be alarmed by thoughts of dementia symptoms quite yet if you're enduring similar symptomology. Your hormones or lack thereof might be messing with you, and you may need to mess with them in return. Chat with your healthcare practitioner for further guidance. So setting aside now causation, it's hard to stave off self-berating or at the very least self-doubt in the midst of a brain scramble. When I get down on myself, stress levels go up, and in turn, stress exasperatingly escalates the confusion and the forgetfulness. One reframe that I find helpful is to remember that even Mensas get confused. If you're unfamiliar with the High IQ Society, known as Mensa, to qualify for membership, candidates demonstrate an IQ of approximately 132 or higher, depending on which exam they take, or score within the 98th percentile on approved IQ tests. They're an elite group of the top 2% of the human population. I organized alongside two clients who identified as Mensa. Both professed moments of cognitive confusion attempting to execute basic household tasks. If Mensas get confused, I ought to cut myself a break. So I've been learning tons about chronic conditions. And one sanity saver is to use myself as an experimental guinea pig. It's comforting to redirect my brain and body wrestling matches into an intention to use what I learn as an awareness and action guide for others experiencing comparable situations. In the thick of things, I need all the motivation that I can get to move out of my spin. Altruism is an excellent motivator for me. So use whatever safe, effective tricks or means at your disposal to notch yourself forward. Managing the competition. How do I manage competing thoughts to stay organized and get through daily grinds without totally flipping out? Admittedly, during times of heightened stress, I do flip out when, one, too many demands occur simultaneously or in rapid succession, and or two, I perceive urgent expectations from others, and or three, my mental reserves are overflowing or depleted. Add all that's going on in the world to the mix. Like many people, my reservoir is maxing out. Self-compassion, self-empathy are both useful. Enhancing my toolkit to bolster these valuable traits is an ongoing endeavor. So back to managing on a rational level. Here are some ideas. Again, these are mine. Modify them to your own use. The first one is keep it simple. More isn't always better, even like in the case of my decorative pillows. Too many choices can cause or increase anxiety. Limiting input, while not always feasible, is definitely a way to help decipher and sift through what's happening now and what, if anything, needs to happen next. I try to manage my calendar for flexibility and minimization. The less things I schedule, the more breathing room I have for self-restoration and to recover from brain overflow. The same goes for my home spaces. The less stuff to distract me, despite the beeping dishwasher, the more focused I can be on the one thing that's in front of me. With a catalog of routinized processes, I'm better able to rely on rote memory. The second thing is leave a trail. If you tend to get sidetracked, leave some type of indicator of where you left off, such as leave a light on, leave some music playing, put a bookmark on your document or a pen on a piece of paper, or set an alert on your e-device, something that you can't miss to tell you where to return to and what's up next. I inevitably end up back at my computer, and that's where my blog draft was awaiting my eventual return. Third thing is, and this tends to be my number one tool, is to talk myself through, particularly when my brain starts unraveling from competing thoughts. I stop and I just talk myself through step by step, like I did with the pillow arrangement. It could be aloud. If others are around, I kind of mutter. Vocalizing helps me to focus, and the aid of spoken direction alleviates that confusion stress. And the fourth thing is play around. Be willing to try different things. Be open to nearly anything to make your tasks easier, to get things done, and in a way it won't result in an anxiousness-driven migraine. Stress-induced symptoms shutting you down for hours and even possibly days is not useful. Try not to judge yourself when your approach is goofy or if you're missing the correct way. because there is rarely one correct way to execute a task. The wider the latitude that you give yourself, the more creative you can be, the greater the chance of finding enticement to do what needs to get done with less brain spinning. I hope you too find some comfort in knowing that you are not alone if you relate to these bothersome predicaments, that even menses get confused about what to do now and how to do it and what comes next. And we went through some steps to use, or you can use your own creative toolkit for when you're unsure about what direction to take or how to map it out. And just to reiterate quickly, the things we went through was keep it simple, leave yourself a trail, talk yourself through the actions to reduce the stress and the confusion, and be willing to be flexible and play around. If you're curious how coached organizing can help you address day-to-day challenges, let's chat. You could reach me at the Practical Sort, that's the Practical Sort, SORT.com/contact. And I'd be happy to listen to the challenges that you are going through and see if we are a good fit to work together to help you make progress on your to-do list. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.